The Bible begins not with chaos, but with a rhythm, 6 days of creation and 1 day of rest. On the surface, it seems like a story of beginnings, but many believe it's far more. Genesis is not just describing the past, it's laying down a prophetic pattern for the future. Think about it. God didn't need 6 days. He could have spoken everything into being in an instant. Instead, he chose a deliberate cycle, 6 days of work, 1 day of rest. Why? Because hidden in that rhythm is the blueprint of human history itself. The Apostle Peter gives us the key. With the Lord, 1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as 1 day. If 1 day in creation equals 1,000 years of human time, then the 7 days represent exactly 7,000 years of human destiny. 6,000 years of labor, followed by 1,000 years of rest, the reign of Christ on earth. But here's what should make you stop in your tracks. If this blueprint is true, then humanity is not drifting randomly through history. We are living in the final hours of the 6th day. The clock is almost at midnight. The Essenes timeline. 2,000 years ago, deep in the Judean desert, a community called the Essenes lived in stone huts and caves near the Dead Sea. They weren't seeking comfort, they were seeking truth. Among their scrolls, they preserved calendars, genealogies, and astronomical records. Their conviction was radical. Time itself carried God's fingerprints. They saw more than agricultural law in the Sabbath and Jubilee cycles. They saw prophecy. Every 7th year was a Shemitah, a rest for the land. 7 Shemitahs made 49 years, a Jubilee, a total reset of society. To them, these weren't only farming instructions, they were markers on God's master clock. The Essenes divided history into 4 ages: chaos, Torah, grace, and kingdom. Each lasted 2,000 years. According to their calculations, the Messiah's first coming would happen during a Jubilee year. And it did. When Jesus stood in the synagogue and read Isaiah declaring liberty, it matched their exact timeline. But here's the shattering truth. If their numbers were right once, they might be right again. And their calendar points not to centuries away, but to now. The 7-day prophetic breakdown. Let's break it down clearly. If 1 day equals 1,000 years, here is the timeline. Day 1, Adam to Noah, the first 1,000 years of human struggle. Day 2, Noah to Abraham, judgment and survival. Day 3, Abraham to Moses, covenant and promise. Day 4, Moses to Christ, law and kingdom. Day 5, Christ to the early church, grace begins. Day 6, the church age, extending until now. Day 7, the millennium, Christ's reign of peace. According to this framework, we are living at the end of Day 6, the twilight before the 7th begins. The Essenes, the early church, and modern chronologists all converge on the same terrifying conclusion. We are approaching the Sabbath millennium. But the question isn't just about dates on a chart. It's about what happens in the final hours of the 6th day. Because the Bible warns that before rest comes judgment, and the night is always darkest before the dawn. Section 5. Why 2025 Matters. Discovery 5. Modern biblical researchers studying the Essene calendar, including Josh Peck and others, have noticed something astonishing. When their calculations are applied to our timeline, the year 2025 emerges as the final year before the last Jubilee cycle begins. Think about that. The same scrolls that predicted the Messiah's first arrival are pointing to a prophetic threshold in our lifetime. Not centuries from now, not in the distant future, but right now as the calendar turns toward 2026. If this is true, then 2025 isn't just another year. It's the last tick before the prophetic reset, a doorway between the 6th millennium and the 7th, a moment that has not occurred since Christ's first coming.
But what exactly happens when humanity steps across that line? Is it peace? Is it judgment? Is it both? The Essenes left us a countdown, but the details of what begins may shake everything we thought we knew. Cycles within cycles. The Bible describes history in layers, years, Shemitah cycles, Jubilees, time turning like gears within gears. Each rotation builds toward a reset. The Essenes understood this. They weren't looking only at the passing of days. They were mapping patterns that revealed when destiny would arrive. Their Jubilee system wasn't abstract. It matched events that shaped the world. Israel's captivities, releases, and even the arrival of Jesus. If their cycles aligned with the greatest event in history, then ignoring their next alignment is reckless. And here is where the weight presses hardest. Those cycles converge again now. Our world is trembling with war, famine, technological upheaval, and spiritual darkness. Every sign points to acceleration. The cycles are closing. But prophecy is not a puzzle for curiosity. It is a warning. If the cycles repeat, then what unfolded at Christ's first coming may unfold again. Only this time, not in humility, but in glory. Section 7. Signs in our world. Look at the headlines. Wars erupting on every border. Nations in uproar. Technology breaking limits once thought impossible. Artificial intelligence rewriting economies. And at the heart of it all, Israel, once scattered, now back in their land, facing enemies on every side. This is not coincidence. Jesus himself warned in Matthew 24 that wars, rumors of wars, pestilence, and earthquakes would mark the end of the age. John foresaw in Revelation a world primed for deception, control, and conflict. The blueprint matches the world outside your window. We're not drifting into chaos, we're accelerating toward a prophetic climax. And if the Essene clock is right, then 2025 is not just another year of unrest. It is the last year before the final countdown begins. But here's the truth no one wants to face. If the Sabbath millennium is about to dawn, what storms must we endure before the light breaks? The prophetic threshold. Every age ends with a threshold moment. The flood ended the first. The covenant marked the second. The cross split the third. Now we are living at the edge of the fourth age, the age of grace. The Essenes believed that transitions don't drag on. They happen suddenly, triggered by a Jubilee cycle. When the number is reached, history shifts in an instant. That means the change from the 6th millennium to the 7th won't be gradual. It will break like a storm. The closer we get, the faster the signs intensify. Think of contractions before birth, each one stronger, each one closer. That's how prophecy unfolds. And when the final contraction hits, there is no turning back. But if 2025 is the final contraction before the Jubilee begins, then every day counts, which means the decisions made now, by nations and by individuals, carry eternal weight. Section 10. The coming rest and the coming fire. The 7th millennium is described as rest, Christ's reign of peace. But before rest, there is fire. Judgment always precedes renewal. Just as the flood came before the covenant and the cross came before resurrection, the final Jubilee will not arrive quietly. The prophets foresaw both terror and triumph. Daniel spoke of kingdoms collapsing. Revelation warns of beasts rising. Yet Isaiah saw peace flooding the earth, swords beaten into plowshares, and creation finally healed. The tension is this. Before the 1,000 years of rest, the world must endure its darkest hour. That's why the 7,000-year prophecy is not only about dates. It is about destiny. Humanity is racing toward both wrath and redemption. And the clock does not stop for denial. If Genesis is the blueprint, If the Essenes mapped the calendar, if the early church confirmed the pattern, and if the signs in our world echo the prophecies, then we are not asking whether the 7,000-year prophecy is real. We are asking whether it begins now. 6,000 years of struggle are closing. The seventh is about to open. And every headline, every cycle, every sign points to the same conclusion. History's longest countdown has reached its final seconds. But here's the truth no one can ignore. When the calendar resets, it won't just change history, it will change eternity. And the next age, the final age, could already be pressing against the door. So ask yourself, when the clock strikes midnight, will you be ready?